Now, Australian weather presenter Nate Byrne has been praised after opening up about mental health live on air. Just take a look at this.
That could lead to some coastal erosion. Flood watches also remain current. Queensland, northeastern New South Wales today. No relief in sight. We've got big falls right through that part of the country, and we're going to see lots more rain in the days ahead. I'm actually going to need to stop for a second. Some of you may know that I occasionally get affected by some panic attacks, and actually that's happening right now. Lisa, maybe I could hand back to you.
You certainly can, Nate.
Well, Nate returned to the show later on and he said he felt better. You know, it's funny. I would not have really known what was happening there, and I've had one panic attack in my life, and it was 6 months ago. And before I had it, I would have looked at that and thought, oh, you know, why couldn't he just sort of breeze through it? But having experienced it, I totally see why.
Did yours have a reason, or did it just come from
nowhere?
nowhere?
Well, it was a stressful period, but no, it didn't have an immediate trigger. I thought I was having a heart attack.
Yeah,
I mean, it was really quite overwhelming. And the thought of feeling like that while live on air, you know, is just horrific. So he dealt with that phenomenally well. How did you feel watching it?
I feel like you kind of watch it and you know there's something not quite right. Obviously, I don't know him, so I don't know how he normally does it, but you can see he's quite kind of struggling for breath and to get through it. And I kind of felt a bit proud watching him just be honest and say, actually, I need to stop now, and kind of handed it over. Because I feel like a while ago he probably wouldn't have been able to do that.
No.
But I do think it's still interesting that it's become a topic. You know, this happened in Australia, it's come all the way over to here, and obviously we're talking about it. And I feel like had he fainted or had sort of a
stomach
asthma
pains
attack
or
something physical, it wouldn't have made its way around the world for us to be talking about it. But because it's a mental health thing, I feel like it's almost more interesting, which shows we've come a really long way, but maybe still not all the way.
I think as well, I think that unless you've had an actual panic attack, and it's very hard to describe it. My analogy was always, you're driving along the motorway and you nearly have a crash, and your heart is racing manically, but you pull over to the side, you don't have a crash, and after a few minutes, you've calmed down. It's like that, but that never goes away. And mine would come completely endogenously from nowhere, not even thinking about anything, and you would think that you were choking and dying. The thing about it having moved on, and we do talk about everything much more openly, and I'm thrilled because I felt a lone voice 30-odd years ago when I was very, very poorly with it. But still, those of us older of the Show Must Go On brigade will still call work, and people will say, I've spoken to people of my age about this, and if they're having a real problem mentally, will still say it's something physical. Or something to do with the kids, or something like that. So we have moved on in many ways, but they know that they're still going to get judged by saying, I've had a panic attack, and people will say, well, why don't they just pull themselves together?
Yeah. I mean, he had no option, really, but to talk about it, because he was in the grips of it. But, and of course, I think it's really good that we talk about things more. But equally, I think people should also be entitled to their privacy. So if they don't want to talk about it, they should also be allowed not to talk about it, because everyone's different and some people would rather kind of keep these things to themselves. But just on the difference between the physical and the mental, I mean, Brenda, I'm thinking when you got your cancer diagnosis, did you think, right, I want to keep this to myself, I want to talk? Did you have that conversation with yourself, or was it instinctual?
Yeah, I didn't. When I was diagnosed and I knew what the outcome was, that was when I felt that I had a responsibility to share it because of the circumstances. I didn't know that I had cancer, and
you didn't feel ill.
I didn't feel ill, and that made me nervous and scared for other people that might be out there feeling, not knowing the same thing. And obviously, when I came on the show to talk about it, and the reaction from everybody of people saying, I've just felt myself, and, you know, I've just felt my breast and found a lump, I didn't realise, thank you for sharing. And that's what made me really get onto sharing that. But that was just my personal preference.
I know it's
That's
interesting you
not for
say you felt
everybody.
responsibility, because to be absolutely honest, I don't know if I would. Because I'm just more of a kind of private person. Maybe it is the right thing to do, but I
don't think there's a right
There's
or
no
a
right or
wrong.
wrong.
There's a right
I
or
don't.
wrong.
Yeah, I don't think you have to share. And I think even like not in our situation, in friendship groups and stuff, I think we often these days expect everyone to tell us everything, and I don't think you have to. Like when my mum got breast cancer, I didn't. You know, I posted a picture of her and she lost her hair, so people kind of guessed. I didn't. It was like a family picture that there was something going on. But at that time, one, it wasn't really I didn't feel like it was my story to tell, and two, I was like, I don't feel ready to talk about it yet. And I'm the person who didn't have it. It wasn't a conversation. I wanted to know my mum was well before I acknowledged it publicly.
Yeah.
And even with friends and stuff, they knew, but I didn't really go into it that much because I just didn't feel ready. And I just think some people just cope with things privately and they don't need to talk about it and they don't want to talk about it. It doesn't help them, whereas for others, talking helps. So I just think each their own.
Well, if you have been affected by anything that we have talked about, then you can go to our website, which is itv.com/helplines for help and support.